Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Zamski. I'm back with another episode, and today we're talking about the women of Serbia. So, a little background on this is that after I did my 3-month stint in Ukraine, in Kiev, I had a couple of my friends that were living in Novi Sad. It's like a northern city in Serbia. They were doing their online work. They were basing themselves out of that city, and they invited me, and they were like, hey, come on over, have a good time. It's cool here, it's cheap here, and we can have a good time here. And I was like, okay, all right. So I signed up, packed my bags, flew out to Belgrade and went up to Novi Sad and decided to base myself there for about a month. So you guys are here to talk about the women, I know, so I'll just go right down to it. Here I'm going to talk about, I'm going to do a little something different. I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons, and I'll start with the pros. So first and foremost, I gotta say, man, Serbian women, they're like hands down one of the hottest women in the world. If you are a dude that likes tall, long legs, amazing booties, they're feminine, beautiful, and they just generally they have, if you're into a girl that have just great genetics, then they're the ones for you. In terms of looks, you want to think of a girl that looks like Dua Lipa. I think that would be a great way to kind of like more or less describe how they kind of look like. They kind of have the more Mediterranean look. They got the more brunette, a bit more tan, and brown eyes. Just really gorgeous, man. Really, you just gotta go there and check it out to see what I really mean. And another thing is that when I was out there, there's actually, I don't see a lot of Asian guys there either. It's actually even less than a place like Ukraine and Poland. So going out at night in the city of Novi Sad, or Belgrade for that matter, I noticed that I'm like the token Asian in a club full of Serbian girls and guys. So I kind of stand out a bit as an Asian guy, but yeah, there's just not a lot of Asians there. And another pro, number 2, is that they speak English fluently. They understand everything, including sarcasm, like innuendos, wittiness, all that stuff. This is a big thing when going abroad and trying to date foreign women, because if they don't know English and you have to know a little bit of their language, it's kind of a bit difficult, because they're when you talk to them, it's gonna feel like they're talking to you at a million miles an hour, whether that language may be Spanish or Russian, or in this particular case Serbian. So it's really great that they speak English and they understand everything, like the American style of humor, and they like it too. So that's a great plus. So you don't have to change your game when you're out there in Serbia. You can just spit that American game. You can go out there, talk to them, and they'll understand everything. The third thing is that considering how hot they are, I find that they're pretty damn friendly. They don't act like they're too cool for you. They'll talk to you, and yeah, they're real people, and they're genuine people, and so you don't you won't encounter a lot of the uptight attitude that you probably would expect that you find in the West, and that's one of the things that I really like about them. Another thing is that they're not particularly gold diggerish. The reason why I want to point this out is that Serbia is actually not a very rich country. You know, it's a Eastern European country, and the wages there are not very high. But at the same time, it's kind of crazy because, like, you know, they're not like after your money or whatever. You know, like they genuinely they have like pride in who they are as people, and they're just proud. They have a lot of dignity, I would say, and so like these girls are not like out to like scam you and all that stuff. And in many cases, like I can even say that like it can be kind of a bit of a con, because like one of the reasons why, you know, we have like foreigners have an advantage there is the money aspect, but that money aspect is something that they kind of don't care about. So it's like that advantage, if that is your advantage, it's just kind of gone. It's just kind of gone. Another thing about being a foreigner visiting Serbia is that they really don't care about your foreigner status. I mean, I was speaking earlier about saying that, like, you know, I was the only Asian guy or whatever, which makes you think that we might have a certain level of exotic factor when going into Serbia, but that's just simply not true. They actually don't care that you're a foreigner, or that, you know, I mean, you could be of like any other race either, and they don't really care. You could be like a European guy, a British guy, a Latino guy, an Asian guy, an Arab guy. I mean, and they just kind of, you know, don't really care. And the only one that I can think of that has somewhat of an exotic factor, I would say, is if you are like a black guy. But other than that, like, you know, being an Asian guy doesn't really get you any bonus whatsoever. Matter of fact, I would say that, you know, other than black, like, no one race has a significant particular advantage in Serbia, because they just don't care. You know, you're just a foreigner to them no matter what. So this is a on my last point, I like to build up on it. It's, you know, that could also be like a benefit as well, you know, because you realize that everybody's on the same playing field, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, it's the playing field, so in a sense it's not like unfair towards like one particular race or whatever. Everybody has to put in the same work and shit, and yeah, like that's one of the, in many ways, the way I see it, that's one of the pros. So I'm gonna move into the cons. So the first con is that unlike Ukraine and Poland, Serbian women have a much higher standard for what they consider a physically attractive dude than, you know, their more Eastern European counterparts like Ukraine and Poland. And the reason why is because Serbian dudes, they are a fierce competition. Like, the average height is like 5'11" or 180 centimeters. And so if you are below that height, you're average. I mean, you're below average in Serbia in terms of height. And also another thing is that fitness and, like, you know, being alpha, being masculine, being like gym culture is actually very strong in Serbia. So if you are under like 5'11" and you are not fit, but you are like skinny, or God forbid you are like out of shape, I mean, you are really below average in Serbia. I mean, you know, if you're like a chubby dude, if you're a chubby Asian guy and you're under 5'11", don't go to Serbia. I mean, it's not gonna work out well for you. Another thing is that competition for the attractive Serbian women from the local guys is quite high, man. And obviously that, you know, leads on from what I just said earlier. Like, not only are like Serbian dudes, like, you know, they're tall and, like, you know, fucking fit, and they're aggressive and alpha, like, they're also very aggressive too when it comes to like, you know, chasing women, because in the clubs and whatnot, when you're out there, you know, everybody is like a bit tipsy and they're going after it, and it's kind of quite intimidating when your competition, you know, is freaking freaking the average height of your competition is 5'11", and here you are, being an Asian dude who's like a 5'8" guy, 5'9" guy, whatever, and then your competition is 5'11" and above, and fit and big. So that's something to consider. They're also a bit more traditional than a lot of like Western girls, like Serbian girls. So you actually need to have a lot of patience. Like you need to go on several dates. You got to have a good game, and you gotta look good. You gotta have your game on point, and it's not one of those places where you can just simply swoop in and then think that your exotic factor or your foreign factor or your money is just going to like take you far in Serbia just because that just so not it isn't how it works. Another thing is that if you are an older gentleman, I got some bad news for you, and that is that large age gaps are not as acceptable. I'll build up on this a little bit, but like large age gaps like are not as acceptable in Serbia as in more Eastern countries like Ukraine or Russia. And but the thing is, you can kind of compensate though. It's really like how old you look. You know what I mean? If you look like a guy who is 35 and you look like it, and you haven't been taking care of yourself, and you look like you're 35, trying to date that girl who is like 23, 18 to 25 is gonna be kind of tough for you. So you want to look like a guy who is 35 but looks like 7 to 8 years younger, and of course that's by you taking care of yourself, right? So the last point of the cons section is that a lot of them smoke, so that can be quite a deterrent. Like Serbians in general are quite liberal about smoking, and they allow smoking in all their venues, so it can get really stuffy in there when you decide to go to the clubs or just even a regular restaurant. So I would say that is one of the cons of just the cons of Serbia, and to some to an extent like dating in Serbia. So but yeah, like overall though, I would highly recommend them just because I would say like the juice is worth the squeeze. You got to put a bit harder work. You got to have a bit of time when you are in Serbia, but if you can manage to catch one, if you can, that it's going to be a good one. So I would highly recommend all my Asian brothers going to it. So this is the pros and the cons, but as far as my personal experience there in Novi Sad, man, it was like I had a really good time, man. The thing about Serbian people that I really like is that they're so fucking outgoing. Like they go out every single day. Their culture is like more of Mediterranean culture than Slavic culture, and the stereotype with Slavic culture is that they're really cold and they're like standoffish and whatnot, but I kind of felt like it was the opposite when I was in Serbia, because just people were just so damn friendly, and people were just going out every single day, like even including like Sunday and Monday nights, and I'm thinking to myself, man, do these people have work the next day, And another thing is that it's quite cheap there. Like going out to the bars, like you can get beers for like $2. Eating food going out is I paid like something like anywhere from like $4 to $5. Let me see, like taxi is also pretty cheap, and it was the city, like in Novi Sad, it was very walkable. I had like an apartment right by the city center, and I just basically walked everywhere. Just even going out at night, I can just simply walk into like the main bar area and and uh, um, and just have some, like, a good time, just get drunk off my face, maybe party, and then just go back home. Another thing that I will add about going to Serbian bars and clubs is that it's a very table oriented culture. Like, you go into these bars and clubs, and then a lot of them, in true Serbian bars and whatnot, what they do is that they kind of like, they go with their friends, and then they stick with their friends around a table. And sometimes if there are not enough tables, oftentimes you can be randomly assigned a table where other Serbians already are at. And that has some like interesting dilemma, because like I told you earlier, like how Serbian dudes are super tall. They're really tall. Like, I mean, I was hanging out with my friend, my 5'5" like black friend that was there. That he has like a little company there, internet company, and sometimes we get assigned a table, and the next thing we knew, we're standing next to these fucking, like, 5'11" and up, 6'2" guys, and they just straight out dominated us in terms of presence. You know what I mean? So that's something to like consider. But with that being said, though, if you're an aggressive guy and you just don't care, and you go for it, you can find success. But just understand that you're gonna have to fight for it. Overall, though, I had a really good time. I was dating one Serbian girl the whole time that I was there. I met her like around like a week and a half after I landed in Novi Sad, and it was a really good time. She was super cool girl, and yeah, man. I mean, I would highly recommend it. So that's it for now. Hopefully you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll be dropping more videos soon. Also, if you guys are interested in like getting a personal consultation, or like where to go in Eastern Europe, because I think that based on a person's stat, there's going to be parts of Eastern Europe that's probably going to be better for you than others. And also it depends on what type of girl that you like too. It's all like, it all varies, because the looks of the girls, it changes depending on what region of Eastern Europe you're at. So if you guys are interested in knowing more information, my email is in the description box in the below, and so just give me a shout out and we can talk. All right, anyways, until next time, guys, peace.